Welcome back to TAPintoTV. I am your host for the day, Brian Brodeur, coming to you from East Main Media Studios in Little Falls, New Jersey. This week's show includes Stephanie Willoughby speaking to personal chef Nicolle Walker, and then we'll meet Paul Brozen. He'll tell us about what the film industry is doing to feed frontline healthcare workers. Then clinical psychologist Meryl Dorf will tell us how to take care of our mental health during the pandemic. And lastly, we'll go back to the 2019 Tech Day New York event in New York City. But first, let's meet an inspiring leader, Mr. Craig Poole, the general manager of DoubleTree by Hilton Hotels in Reading, Pennsylvania. It's my honor to be joined by Mr. Craig Poole today, the general manager of the DoubleTree by Hilton in Reading, Pennsylvania, as well as the president of Reading Hospitality. Craig, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for inviting me, Brian. Appreciate it.
Tell me how things are going out there in Reading and what's the latest from the DoubleTree by Hilton?
Well, in Reading, we're in Berks County, PA, and Berks County is purple for the COVID-19. So it looks to me like we're going to be. We haven't had 1 day at 20, and that's what we need a day. So we're going to be. It'll be a while for us to open, but we're getting ready to open. We're every day we work very hard at preparing to create a new experience when we do open.
Craig, tell me about the challenges of keeping a large hotel running while a pandemic's happening. You know, what are the steps you have to take to keep things going?
What we did is we decided to take advantage of it. And we said, okay, if this is the way it's going to be, how could we reinvent ourselves for when this comes back? And as lousy it is that we've been slow, it's also been good that we've been slow, because we've been able to rethink how we're seating people, how we're disinfecting. I actually hired I promoted somebody from maintenance to be the chief safety and sanitation disinfection person. Now I have a team. For a while, as long as we need it, we're going to have it. But I was able to reconfigure what the hotel looks like and rethink about how it's going to look when we open. So we opened successfully.
So what are some examples of support that you and the hotel are providing the community?
We do a lot of heart connection things. Like today, we ran food and dessert cookies, DoubleTree cookies to the Reading police. Yesterday, it was to the paramedics. And we're trying to do different things through the hotel just to take care of the local people. We have free clothes that we give out to people, food that we give to people. We're the second poorest city with the second highest crime rate. So it's when you do that, you have to be. Our purpose was to change a city through a hotel. It wasn't just to run a hotel. The hotel is the vehicle that we use to help change the whole environment. So when you have a bigger purpose than a hotel, you have bigger things that you do and a bigger purpose, and purpose drives it all.
I wanted to touch on this because this isn't like you just waltzed into this super fancy DoubleTree and just took it over and now you're doling out meals. No. This was a ground up effort, and you specifically were attached to this to make it happen. So give me the short story there. Tell me how this came to happen.
Albert Boscoff, who owned all the Boscoff department stores, and his family put the money in, and a couple investors. But Albert's dream was the same thing. The purpose was to drive the city to be successful, because Boscoffs are from Berks County, Reading, PA.
Wow. And
this is where his heart was, and he's a very generous man. So that's the purpose of the hotel. And we borrowed the money and a lot of money from the state, a lot of federal funds, and so it would re-employ a city. So we built the hotel, $65 million. A lot of high risk. Most people said they would not come down to Reading because Berks County is not a poor city, or it's not a poor county. It's just Reading's a poor city. So we hired the people, and when you hire people that have never done there before, you start from the beginning, really the beginning. And when you hire in a high crime rate area, you hire people that have felonies. So we hired about 60 people who had felonies. And that's why I went back to say, I tell people, I don't look at people's past. I look at who they are today and where they want to be tomorrow. It's just a gift that I have that I learned a long time ago, to love people where they're at, not to what they did. And those are the people, these 209 people that have rotated a little bit, but not a lot of turnover. They're the ones that we have 3 times we've been the #1 DoubleTree in the United States. We have national awards from the Hotel Motel Association, #1 hotel in the United States. And we have lots of awards, but these are the people that never did this in their lifetime, that have been in prison, that have never opportunities, that have been marginalized and lost and forgotten, running the #1 DoubleTree in the world. I mean, and I think about that, and I'm so proud of that, that you can go, it's not the city, it's the leadership of a city, the leadership of a place makes a difference. And I like to think I'm a pretty good leader, but what I do is, like, a lot of the people I hire are already leaders. They weren't allowed to be leaders before. They were never told they could be a leader. And now they're being told they are, and they're being held accountable to that, and they're being empowered to do that. And now they're doing great.
Well, every team needs a leader, and you're out in front, and this is the direction you're headed. I read an interesting quote, from you talking about hiring happy people and people who are committed to their town or their region. Tell me about that.
When we hire people, now I have managers that work there, they hire, but nobody's allowed in the hotel until they go through me. Because I don't want us ever to hire somebody based just on their past. Because you had this job, you could have went to Cornell Hotel School and come and apply for a job. But if you're arrogant, or if you're not humble, or if you don't have a servant's heart, that's okay. There's jobs for you, but not with me. I'd rather hire people that have a vision for other people, a vision to change the city, because that's what drives our hotel. Is the purpose of the hotel drives the culture of the hotel. Wow. It drives everything.
Well, clearly you love people, Craig, and you're doing incredible work out there, and a true leader, and really should be recognized for what you're doing, and you are recognized. Craig, thank you for joining me, and keep up the good work.
You keep it up too. Thank you.
Tap Into is a network of more than 80 franchise local news sites with more than 10 million readers. Bring local news to your community while owning your own business. Tap Into provides you with the training, support, and technology to help you build a profitable business. To find out more, visit www.starttap.net.
Next up, Stephanie Willoughby introduces us to personal chef Nicolle Walker.
I'm joined by Nicolle Walker, personal chef. Nicolle, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
What's been going on with you guys? How is it being a personal chef and also managing your small business during the pandemic?
It is very different right now. My business was based on the idea of a private chef cooking in your home, but on a more relaxed basis. So a lot of what my team and I do is we work with families. A lot of times it's families that both parents work, they need to eat a really specific way, they have young kids. So we really went from being in people's homes every single week to now we just can't be in people's homes. So we have been doing a lot of donations. We've been doing a lot of feeding essential workers. We've been putting together things like Zoom classes, and we're currently working on a summer camp program via Zoom.
I'm actually surprised that you have that much going on. I think that this general idea, at least when it all started, I think everybody kind of had to be like, okay, what's going on? And do I still have a job? And if I still have a job, how do I continue to do that job? So how did you come up with some of the ideas that you're having now and kind of keeping your business going?
It was Definitely a big change. So we are, for safety's sake, for my family, for my clients' families, we chose pretty quickly to stop doing in-home services. The idea of my staff and I being in the grocery stores and being in the public and then being in and out of people's homes, it made me really uncomfortable. And I knew that my clients were also a little bit concerned, and it was a struggle because I know that with the grocery store situations, people are really struggling to get food. And so for me, it was trying to make that choice of, do we stay in business? Do we turn to deliveries? Or do we just shut down completely? It took a long time to kind of settle on where we were. But as I looked around, I saw that there were so many people who needed to be fed. The hospitals, the nurses, they were all being taken care of, so to speak. As I spoke with more town officials and things like that, we realized that there are so many truly essential workers that aren't being recognized and who aren't being thought about by the bigger organizations. So, for example, I fed lunch for my entire town, the entire town of Bloomfield, all of their essential workers. We fed them a couple of weeks ago. We did box lunches for everybody. It allowed me to keep feeding people, which is my passion, keep busy, and also do something good. You know, it's so hard sitting in your house all the time and you want to do something, you don't know what you can do. And for me, this is a way to kind of do something.
So one of the things that I love about you and the way that you've been able to reinvent your business is that I do think that people forget that essential workers extends to more than our hospital frontline people, which are obviously like critical at this particular point. But there are so many school staffers that are still coming in every day to make sure that homeschool goes well. As you mentioned, there are mechanics, there are delivery people, like the list goes on. And I'm so glad that you were able to recognize that. The things that you've been doing during this time of that, what will you be carrying forward?
We will be carrying forward the feeding people nonprofit side of it. So as I mentioned before, we are in the process of rebranding. We've been so lucky. We've had a lot of success in the last year and a half, and we're in the process of rebranding and kind of changing a little bit how we do things. And I'm actually starting a nonprofit arm of my business, working towards the idea that food is a right, not a privilege, and that everybody deserves to have good, clean, wholesome, natural food. And so what we'll be carrying forward from this time is really just that determination that everybody deserves to be fed. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. You deserve good, wholesome food. And I want to bring it to you. So that is very, very much the philosophy and the attitude that we are going to be taking forward.
I love your philosophy. I know that you are one part of the team of your family that gives so generously to the community there in Bloomfield. And I'm really proud to know you and really proud of the way that you've been able to conduct business and really just become who you were meant to be during this time. It's really beautiful to watch. It was great speaking with you today, Nicolle. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
To learn more about TAPintoTV, visit TAPintoTV.net.
I'm excited to be joined by Paul Brozen, one of the team leaders of a group called Film Industry Feeds the Front Line. Paul, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for your time.
So Paul, how did you come up with the idea of feeding the frontline healthcare workers, and how did you set up the base of operations at St. Joe's in Paterson?
Basically at St. Joe's, we set up a mobile canteen or a truck that actually has the ability to make the meals on the site. And taking a page from the airline industry, we set it up as a hub and spokes. So from the hub at St. Joe's, we were able to then send food to the FEMA EMS workers at the Meadowlands, because that's where they're stationed. And then we were able to send food to Beth Israel in Newark.
Now, you see, that's fascinating because you just didn't park a truck at a hospital and dole out meals. You used this different model where you're set up a central location essentially, and you're distributing. What gave you the inspiration? You mentioned the airline model, but what made you think that way?
The inspiration came from my 10 plus years as a background person in the film industry. And the highlight of the day was lunchtime, when the same kind of truck would show up at lunchtime and feed 200 to 400 people in the course of an hour or less. Amazing. The only difference was that that was buffet style. So I had to reinvent how we could do it so that it was done in a safe manner for the people on the truck, and a manner that we could deliver the food in short order inside. So what we did was always offer the following: protein, starch, and fresh vegetables. And it was then wrapped, and then it was also, there was a knife, fork, spoon, napkin, salt, pepper, and then it was wrapped in saran wrap, and then it was boxed up and it was delivered to the hospital. Or thanks to the support of 813 Local, which are the Teamsters, they would come with their own cars, they volunteer their time, and they would deliver the food.
So tell me a little bit about the process you've put in place for creating these takeout or these box meals.
Well, it's one of two ways. When we were in Patterson and we had the truck there, my job was to go to Restaurant Depot, which is in South Hackensack, with my list from the chef saying we need 8 cases of meatballs, 1 ounce size. We need 3 cases of sauce. We need all the other ingredients, or whatever vegetables we have to be making that day, and whatever other supplies that are needed on the truck for cleaning, for cooking. We need pans, you name it. So up and down the aisles of Restaurant Depot I go, pushing my boat, getting what has been requested. But what I tried to do was load up 2 days worth of food at one shot. So in case I was ever delayed, there was no issue from me. So they would get started cooking at about 8 o'clock, and the 813 Teamster will show up about 11 o'clock for the first 100 meals that we were sending off to the Meadowlands. The next volunteer shows up at about 11:30, 12 o'clock for 200 meals, and we'd be pretty much ready. And then by about 12:30, we're ready to push the meals or deliver the meals inside to St. Joseph's Hospital. The next thing they have to do is clean the truck.
Sure.
And every day the truck has to be cleaned end to end. It has to be degreased. They really spend probably about a half an hour cleaning the truck. The chef then says, okay, what are we doing for tomorrow? And whatever the menu is, then it's written down. Then yours truly starts the process again, back to Restaurant Depot.
Well, it's really amazing how you've brought a lot of resources together with good ideas, and you're really making an impact, doing a lot of great work. So thank you from us, and keep up the good work. Where can people find out more information about you and perhaps make a contribution or help out?
So they can go to GoFundMe, and then they can type in Film Industry Helps Feed the Front Line. We've collected to date about $112,000. When I first came up with this idea, I had no concept of how much money or how many meals we would be able to do. It was just, let's do it. Here's the final number. So I mentioned we did 19,815 meals in 23 facilities. Our average cost per meal is about $5.33 is what it costs us to put out a meal. That's including all the packaging that's needed, the labor, and the food. Very happy with that amount.
Well, certainly people can take a very easy step to go to your GoFundMe page, make a contribution, and keep this effort moving because you're making a huge impact, Paul.
Thank you so much.
To watch more Tap Into TV videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel at TAPintoTV.
I'm pleased to be joined again by Meryl Dorf, PhD, clinical psychologist. Meryl, thanks for joining me again.
Oh, it's so nice to be here again, Brian. Thanks for having me.
During the pandemic, all of us are dealing with the unknown, and that we're sort of under this new normal, or that the structure we've had has been disassembled or is gone. And some of us are coping with this alone, that people don't have families and they may be working from home and not have people in their lives to help support. So can you speak to that a little bit and what those pressures might be like and how people can cope with them?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that helps us get along is to have a sense that the world is predictable, that we know somewhat what's going to happen next. We really have no idea when we're going to get out, when we're going to be able to get back to work, even for some people, when our paycheck is going to come. Yeah. So it's an ingredient of a very stressful situation. And when it becomes bad, it reaches traumatic proportions. And one of the things that we can do is think about how to avoid PTSD.
I want to clarify, PTSD, it refers to post-traumatic stress. Your point is very important. You and I are speaking now, but we are in the middle of this event. It's a long-term event. So there will be a post-traumatic element to this.
The people who really have the hardest time afterwards are the people who are so terrified and have so much stress from the event that their body then goes into what's called a freeze state, where we just get numb and we kind of shut down. Even it's kind of like play dead in order to survive.
Right. So as people experience these stresses and these anxieties, they have to become aware of them, of course, number one, but then they have to cope with them or combat them. Can you tell me about some ways that people can cope and grapple with these anxieties?
There are a few things that we can do. You know, the body sort of takes over when we're frightened and our heart rate goes up, we get sweaty, we get stiff, we get hyper alert. One thing that's automatic is breathing, but it's the one thing that we can actually control too. Slow breathing, especially exhaling, serves to slow down the heart. It slows down our breath. It relaxes our body. And if you do it, you can see that it really works. Another thing that actually is very helpful, and that is moving. If we move gently, like taking a walk or yoga, or mindfulness meditation, if we actually put some effort into keeping going, we loosen the body up and we don't freeze. We can come alive, stay alive. The other thing, which is very, very important and is challenging in this sequester right now, is connection. That human connection really is something that slows down and calms our nervous system. And so it's the very hard thing for us to do right now. But it's also something that the technology has presented us with as an opportunity to be able to do. We can use telehealth. We can have our virtual parties. We can meet with people. I've connected with people in Colorado, old friends that I hadn't actually talked to in a long time, but we've connected and it's been fun. But more than fun, I think it's essential. One of the things that's really helpful for everybody to realize is we're in this together. You know, we are not alone. Everybody is struggling together. And it goes back to how important it is for us to stay in touch with each other, to call old friends, to talk about this.
You know, people may be in need of help and they might want to consider telehealth or they might want to consider some talk therapy in this time of the pandemic, but they might be worried about cost. Can you talk about some potential lower cost or free options that are available to people?
Yeah, there's actually quite a number out there. And especially in this time when people are financially stressed, it's very, very important. There are some options for people who are struggling with feelings particular to this pandemic, the anxiety and fear responses. The New Jersey State Hotline has some referral sources that can help you hook up with something at a lower cost. The New Jersey Mental Health Association, the New Jersey Mental Health Cares can hook you up with some practitioners. There are several places. I'm involved with the Center for Psychotherapy and Psychoanalysis of New Jersey. They have a psychotherapy center that you can call and get wonderful therapists.
That's really great input, Meryl. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much for having me.
To watch more Tap Into TV, follow us on social media at TAPintoTV.
Tech Day 2020 has been postponed from April to October this year. So let's take a look back at some of our coverage from last year's event.
What's going on here is the 8th annual Tech Day New York. This show will have over 350 exhibits and 20,000 registered attendees. It's investors, press, mentors, entrepreneurs, small business owners. It runs the gamut. Tech Day is almost sort of like a galvanizing force. So it brings together all these different resources and all these different things that entrepreneurs and growing businesses need. So that energy is literally just people doing business. You can get more done here in a day than some companies can do in months just sitting in their office all day. This gives people the chance to come out, shake hands, actually see founders face to face, see your partners face to face. This year I've noticed quite a bit of a trend towards super focused digital health and digital consumer apps. There are things here for digital pharmacies, there are individual personal robots, like there's a lot of personalization here. But we're noticing a trend towards really bringing the future to the individual consumer. There are some faces here that I've seen for the last 4 years at these shows who I've seen their businesses grow, I've seen them raise money, grow their teams, make their first hires, like really make it as an entrepreneur. And I'm glad I got involved because it's been the best decision I've made being a part of this show. Tech Day serves not just New York, but also New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, the entire East Coast, the entire country actually. Over 30% of the people that are here today are not from New York. They're from all around the country, all around the globe. So Tech Day provides a meeting place for everyone that's in this area that is focusing on the New York market and ecosystem or just simply focused on growing their business and can find a tool here to give them a place to grow. The future for Tech Day definitely includes a lot of expansion. It includes more events throughout the year for our community to come together, not just on this single day, and spreading this energy throughout the entire ecosystem that we serve. It also will likely grow just simply in numbers. I would love to see the show have a few hundred more exhibitors on the show floor, a few hundred more startups, be able to better serve startups at the very, very early idea stage, as well as startups that have raised Series C, Series D, really well-known names as well.
We ran our first inaugural conference last year, and what we found was overwhelming positive feedback. Our focus was on selecting the top 15 startups from prestigious universities in the Northeast, from Princeton, Carnegie Mellon, Yale, NYU, what have you, and make sure that we're providing them with a platform to enhance and grow their network, because we found a gap between student entrepreneurs and that greater entrepreneurial ecosystem, specifically here in New York.
We saw that there was a pain point between founders and the New York City ecosystem. So founders on one hand have a very hard time connecting with investors. And on the other hand, investors don't really have the resources to reach out to smaller markets. So by bridging those two gaps, we're able to invite on one hand 15 of the top startups from universities on the East Coast. And then on the other hand, the top VCs, the top corporate partners, and the top founders from New York City all onto one stage at Amazon.
Last year, we received over 85 applications from over 35 universities, and we had 15 teams present their ideas. Actually, all 15 received interest from investors and accelerators post-conference.
So to give a little bit of context, all of our founders are student founders, so these are young individuals. And the two companies that are actually exhibiting here are Perpix and Aduri. Aduri is a NYU-based company, and Perpix is from the University of Virginia. Aduri, on one hand, is a health tech company that incorporates yoga mats into more of a Peloton experience, allowing users to practice yoga at home through a video service. And Perpix is more of a marketing platform that uses smart AI and analytics to allow smaller companies to market to the generation of X and Z.
This is an amazing conference. We've seen a variety of startups coming from a bunch of different sectors and verticals, and they're trying to obviously connect with a variety of different investors and accelerators, what have you, and that's one of the main reasons that we're here, to see some of these startups, to see if they're a good fit for our accelerator and our conference, but also see some of the cool innovations that are happening today.
From everybody here at East Main Media Studios and TAPintoTV, thank you for watching, and please stay safe and healthy. Hey, well, looky there.
I am so sorry. Hang on one second. Okay, I am on a call, and I told you guys to leave it alone. Find Daddy, okay? Oh my God, this house is falling apart. Is there going to be a bloopers wheel this week?
Bye-bye.